in general, the winner of this game goes on to win the SEC East and compete nationally.
And we're going to just talk about the fact that you mentioned understanding that what this game is and how it continues to grow. Florida, Georgia is different. Georgia, Florida, if you are a Georgia fan and
I was
Georgia
going to correct
lover,
you.
and but 2021, even back from when you played, from when I played, this game continues to go this way, regardless of, obviously Georgia's number one this season, but it really don't matter what Georgia's ranked. Really don't matter what Florida's ranked. Just talk about how much this game means, not just to us, but just to college football in general. It's going to be 3:30 on Saturday. I was blessed enough to play in the night game, and they got away from that. But just talk about how the Florida Georgia game has grown to be loved, not just by Florida Georgia lovers of the individual schools, but just how college football embraces it.
Well, there's a great argument to be made that this is the best college rivalry throughout the nation. Every year, the intensity, people on the West Coast, they pick up on it, once again, because of the significance of going to the play in the national championship. And then the rivalry between the two states, the two state universities. It's just outstanding. Biggest rivalry, college football, period.
Did you understand that when you got into it? I mean, I know you knew about the game, but when that first time going to Jacksonville, you're like, okay, I know about it, but this might be a little something extra than even I thought.
Well, once again, it's on our college experience. I'm pretty sure Ben experienced this also. Our coaches always harped on us the importance of winning, the East, winning the conference championship.
Right.
That was first. So the significance has always been there as far as the players on the field and moving forward. But here we are once again, 2020, and it's a national game, national interest every year. You hear about the coming schedule for next year. This Saturday is going to be CBS 3:30.
Right.
Now, Willie, you got royal families. You got royal families at certain schools. When it come to Ole Miss, you got the Mannings. At the University of Florida, you got the Jacksons, Willie Jackson Sr., Willie Jackson Jr., Terry Jackson. I played with their sister, Ashley. But when you talk about Georgia now, the McClendon name is pretty significant. Talk about just the McClendon legacy at the University of Georgia.
I don't know I can't explain it. I was just a 18-year-old knucklehead like all the other individuals that had an opportunity to go to college. I accepted a scholarship at the University of Georgia. Life moves on. Brothers are blessed with athletic ability. I can't say. What can I say? It was because of that experience, and then my kids growing up, living the UGA alumni thing, having my son to participate in it as a college athlete, that was outstanding. My brother Tyrone, 2 years of junior college, and then his 2 years experience at UGA, and really goes back to Mom. She was the biggest University of Georgia football fan in America. She just loved her Bulldogs. It started with her, and as I tell a lot of people on the recruiting trail, Mom made me go to the University of Georgia. And that's because they had a 11 o'clock curfew. She knew I was going to be in my dorm room at 11 o'clock. They had a dormitory where the food hall, like where the hall had its own cafeteria. And so the University of Georgia football coaches made her confident that I would be where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be and be taken care of. And I wanted to go to Tech. Took a look at University of South Carolina. She didn't want her 18-year-old kid in Atlanta. And then all the University of Georgia coaches got saying 11 o'clock curfew, 11 o'clock curfew. So that's how it started.
And you mentioned the McClendon name there. You left out Warren.
Warren has really been outstanding. But once again, his dad's my youngest brother. He and his wife, they have done one tremendous job of that kid where he is, number one, academically. Outstanding student, always have been. But to watch him grow and play, and I love watching him play also. He's one of those to the whistle guys. Ben, he knows what I mean. You stand around that pile if you want to.
I know. Listen, I mean,
Someone's
you
coming.
don't have to worry about me standing around no piles, and if I am, I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's right.
Willie, I reached out to you back in 2019 when I did my first Florida Georgia Legend series, and you told
Correct.
me, Ben, when you have another one, I'm gonna be here. What are you most looking forward to with the round table? Yourself, myself, Carlos Alvarez, DJ Jones, and D Webb, and Jeff Chandler. I know what I'm looking forward to, and that's just sitting back listening to the stories. But what are you most looking forward to at the round table?
Getting to know all the guys, because we all have basically the same experiences. We're from different communities throughout in different states. Hearing their stories and getting a chance to meet Carlos Alvarez. So I was so glad to see that he was going to be in attendance. And once again, growing up here in Brunswick, I saw the Ray Graves football show. And Carlos Alvarez was a big-time receiver, and I adored him. So once again, just meeting someone else along the line that I've admired and watched growing up play.
Well, I mean, let me be the first to tell you, Willie, got a chance to interview Carlos yesterday. And I'm blessed. I mean, I tell you all the time, I'm blessed to do what I do every day. And I'm sitting here trying to act as if this is a Carlos Alvarez that I'm talking to.
Right.
And obviously, I don't want to say the wrong thing. He's a lawyer by trade, so I don't want to get no summons. I'm not trying to get summons, but I'm like you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. Carlos, I got a chance to know him. But these stories are so unique. I am not going to tell Carlos' story. He told me and BJ some stuff yesterday that but football brings us together. Georgia, Florida, Georgia. It's a chance for us to kind of see each other because we hear about each other, know about each other, never met each other.
Correct.
So it's my duty, humble obligation to bring us together. And I call it the Legend Series for a reason. Listen, whether you are a SEC Player of the Year or you a guy that was just, pardon my French, tired as hell when I played in 2002 and was able to get bailed out, this is why I do the Legends Roundtable, because I think when we get together, they think it's going to be, they think it's going to be trash talk. But no, man, it's a humble respect because, Willie, you can attest to this. The hardest thing to do is to not go to University of Georgia. It's to make it on the field on Saturday because your biggest competition is not the guy in front of you. It's coming out of your own meeting room.
Correct. Absolutely. Every day. And he may be your roommate.
Speak about the playing running back there at Georgia. You see a long line of guys who have played the position. Georgia's loaded at running back. Now you got 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that can really carry the football. What does it mean to be a part of that kind of legacy of running backs there at Georgia?
Well, it got started long ago with Charlie Trippi, Frankie Sinkwich, Racehorse Davis. You go on and on. Kevin McLean. You go on and on. And I guess a lot of it could be the football coach's philosophy in winning. Predominantly that era, running game, control the ball. So that probably had some things to do with it, but the legacy has continued, and they recruit on it. They recruit telling guys they get a chance to play at UGA, be a Heisman Trophy candidate, first round draft choice. It works.
It certainly does.
And Willie, I'm going to ask you this probably a lot tonight, but while I have you here, you talk about, and my mama told me I'm going to the University of Florida as well. So when people ask me why I went, well, mama told me first. So that was my recruitment.
Right.
But what does all these years later, So many great memories, teammates, moments. What does going to the University of Georgia mean to Willie McClendon?
Wow. So, State University, there are University of Georgia graduates in every county, every city in this great state of ours. When I was in college, politicians, business leaders, and then once again, having my son to participate and feel that, my brother, nephew, what can you say? It's a great feeling. Absolutely.
Willie, I am so happy that they didn't use you to recruit me, because I would have been in a bad situation. I was like, I'm not going to be telling Willie McClendon no. But I will say this. This great game has given me far more than I can ever give it. I mean, I'm from Swainsboro, Georgia. I got a chance. Vince Dooley, right? Well, I had Jim Donnan. It was Jim Donnan versus Steve Spurrier. Willie, I made the right choice, man. I mean, y'all
right.
look at me like, but at the same time,
right.
Willie, I see what these questions do to you. Like, because you've done these things, but when I ask you what it means to you, pause, because I think that's what people don't get. It's like, look, listen, I didn't pick Florida over Georgia. I had options of both.
Correct.
So I don't think the one is more prestigious than the next. People at the end, thank God I was an athlete, because I wasn't getting it academically.
Right.
Neither one of them.
Absolutely.
So let's call it what it is. But we get a chance to say, man, Ron Zook, my coach, my last 2 years at Florida, said, Ben, the greatest thing you could ever be called is a has-been. Because I mean, at one time, you was the one everybody came to see. Florida, Georgia is, for one time, what you played in the 4 years, 1 year, everybody is coming to see you. And orange and blue, red and black, ticket burials, because Florida got one extra ticket. They don't want to have one extra seat. Talk about Florida or Georgia, Florida, knowing that, look, bigger than national championships and winning the East. At the end of the day, we kind of need each other more than we give each other credit for.
Yes. Well, you don't want to be on the losing end for 365 days, that's for sure. And if you are on the winning end, yeah, you want to rub it in. So yeah, we owe you guys.
Could be coming in a big way tomorrow. Willie McClendon, our guest here on 3 and Out. He'll be with Ben for the roundtable coming up right here at the Westin on Jekyll Island, starting at 7 p.m. Coming out, and George's absolutely free to attend and enjoy in the evening here with us. Willie, thanks so much, and we'll see you certainly later tonight.
You all got it. Thank you, guys.
We've got more to come here, 3 and Out live from the Westin on Jekyll Island, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. There you go. And welcome back here to 3 and Out on this Friday, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island out here in the courtyard. Absolutely beautiful afternoon. Going to give way to a beautiful evening as we get set for the 3rd annual Florida Georgia Legends Series. Ben, it should be a fun night tonight. And we already heard some great stories here with Willie McClendon. I'll let you introduce our next guest here. I know a guy you were looking forward to talking to, so I'll let you bring him on here with us.
I'm always humble to be with my next guest. I mean, I call him the Golden Leg, All American, All SEC, Florida Georgia game, Hall of Fame. 2016 inductee, was blessed enough to go in there together. But what you don't know about my next guest is mother and father were Georgia fans and was able to put up the red and black for 5 years, to celebrate their son, the great Jeff Chandler. What's going on with you today, Jeff?
Hey, Ben. Good to see you. Yeah, I struggled for 5 years to try and get my parents to wear as much Gator stuff as they could. But they were great fans for that time, and I appreciate them for it.
Now, Jeff, this is, blessed enough to have my 3rd annual Florida Georgia Legends Series. You was a part of the inaugural Florida Georgia Legends Series Legends Roundtable. When you think about former Gators, former Bulldogs, just sitting at the same table, they think we finna be over there. They think your wife gonna be over there, getting your shoulders ready like we finna fight. No, it's a healthy respect we have for one another. Because I always say that I feel as though Georgia brought out the best in me. You being a kicker, you're just the life of a kicker is just different anyway. You might not get but one kick, two kick, and it don't matter if it's 40 or 50. Hey, Jeff got to go out there and get it. How much did you admire the kickers from Georgia? Because I'm pretty sure you guys knew of each other.
Yeah, they had some really, really good kickers when during my time there, and that was sort of the respect before the game. You get out there and kind of compare notes, and hey, good season so far. There's a lot of that. There's not so much intensity, if you will, before the game on our end. We don't need to get fired up to get ready for a game. So it was more about staying calm, staying focused, and yeah, a lot of admiration. There were guys that kicked at Georgia prior to me going to Florida that I remember, and just, very strong, very, very good kickers. So yeah, I think there was a very healthy mutual respect between myself and kickers at Georgia during my time.
And the kickers are like a good small fraternity, right? Because nobody else understands what y'all are going through except that close group of guys. Everybody else, like, what? You can't just go out there and knock one down for 45? Like, what's the big deal? Is that kind of how it is? Like, it's a good fraternity amongst kickers.
Yeah, we speak a different language than most football players. Certainly, our jobs are a lot different. It's more about staying composed and staying calm. Very similar to like a quarterback, if you will. You can't be too hyped, you can't be too low, right? You got to kind of stay right in the middle. And so, being able to sort of throttle that up and down. Is something I prided myself on, is not getting too high when things were going well, and then also not getting too low when things were going bad. But yeah, certainly, being able to share experiences. Kickers have every single kicker has missed field goals. They've missed game winners. They've made game winners. So being able to share those experiences with other athletes that we used to play against was certainly a highlight.
Jeff, obviously, being you was blessed enough to be able to go into the Florida Georgia Game Hall of Fame together. I remember your speech, and I got choked up. You got choked up. I said, "Well, I got to go behind Jeff, man. It's already bad." But what is it like getting recognized? Because we go out there and play. Look, I'll take the accolades, but that's not why I'm doing it. What is it like to get that call? Because I know what I felt like when they called me. Well, number one, when they called me, told me I'm a Florida Georgia Game Hall of Fame. I'm like, yeah, I got some. Yeah, you guys, yeah, you went deep for the jokes this time. But what is that feeling like, knowing that? It's one thing for you to go out there and do what you were saying you to do, but to be enshrined in a game that had to mean the world to you.
It did. And I think about this a lot, Ben. That moment that we both shared together, being on stage and talking about what this game meant to us, what being a Gator meant to us, my background growing up on the other side of the rivalry, and then playing this game in my hometown where I grew up, there was just so many different connection points there. And yeah, I got choked up. I wish I wouldn't have, now looking back at it, or I wish I wouldn't have just not stop talking. I wish I would have sort of powered through it. And I think about that a lot. But yeah, the emotion of getting this award and being recognized like that. I was a walk-on. I was happy if I got to kick one extra point and I could say I got to put on the jersey. But then as things start to happen, you never really think about what's going to happen next, right? But my dad used to always say, my dad was a track athlete at Georgia, used to say, the older I get, the better I was. And so like now that I've got kids, and it's fun to be able to take them back to a place and say, look at your dad, like I'm not just the guy yelling at you all the time to do your homework. Like I was a pretty good athlete. I did some things in life. And so I appreciate being able to do that now. I certainly wasn't a goal when I started kicking. Like I have this goal of being in the Hall of Fame or doing anything like that. I was just wanted to be a great teammate. I wanted to help the Gators win. And then sort of all the other stuff you can't really control. A lot of it is, being in the right place or playing during the right time and having a couple things fall in your favor. And I felt like I capitalized on the opportunities that came to me. And the Hall of Fame is a result of that. And I'm incredibly grateful to that. I mean, like I said, it's in my hometown, the game I grew up going to. It's an incredibly important recognition for me to have that.
So what was it like kicking in that game in that stadium? I know the 50-50 split. Now it's almost like, hey, they give you a center point. There's right in the middle of the uprights. There's red and there's blue, right?
Yeah.
Right. But what was the environment like kicking in that game? Your hometown, as you said, obviously big moments happening in that game every single year. But what was that those moments like for you to kick there in Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's not a home game. It's not an away game. It's right in the middle. Yeah. It's not as loud as if you're playing at Neyland Stadium or at LSU. And it's not as quiet as if you're kicking at home. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but I love the fact that the stadium split right down the middle. It's such a cool visual. It's just an incredible atmosphere. And then sort of everything that goes on around the outside of the game and it is what makes this game unique and special. It's just, I remember driving in from the team hotel. We'd drive in on the bus, we'd come in over the bridge, and you'd just see, just piles and piles of people packed up around the stadium, that had been there since 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. And it is, it's an incredible atmosphere. And the game would be over at, we'd kick off at 3:30. The game would get over about 7:30. We'd have about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive back to Gainesville. There'd be a couple guys that would get in cars and drive back to Jacksonville just to continue the party. So I remember doing that a handful of times, but I always had a place to stay up in Jacksonville, so I didn't have to worry about finding a hotel or bunking up with anybody.
Jeff, when look, I tell you this all the time. People talk about skill positions, and I say, well, it's only 3 of them. They're like, what do you mean? Long snappers, punters, kickers. Those are skill positions because if the starting punter goes out, the kicker got to be the punter. If the punter goes out, it's vice versa. And you don't want me long snapping, but when you hit that thing like a perfect kick, like you hit it, like you don't know if it's gonna go through, but in your mind, man, I hit that thing. What is it like? Like great snap, and you just watching that thing, and because you wasn't one of those guys. You got the kicker. They kind of lean a little bit. You never move. Like what is a perfect moment or a perfect kick to Jeff Chandler?
Yeah, you can feel it instantly off your foot. You don't even have to look up. You know exactly how everything is going to fly if you hit it correctly. Everything happens in 1.2, 1.3 seconds. So that's from the time the ball snaps to the time the ball's crossed the line of scrimmage. So it's almost like a dance, if you will. It's a rhythm that you have to get into where it's the snap, the hold, and the kick. And we spent a lot of time practicing that. My job was just merely the last part of that and the one that got all the credit, but I couldn't have done it without the snappers and holders that I had over my 5 years at Florida. But yeah, it's an instantaneous type thing, right when I hit it, hey, that one's in, that one's not good. And then you just kind of move on. I wasn't an emotional guy, just tried to stay pretty even keel. I will say the 54-yarder that I did kick in the Florida-Georgia game was probably the most emotional I got over any field goal at any time. We were tied at the time, and that sort of gave us the lead, and we ended up winning. But that was one where I hit it, and that was probably the best field goal I hit while I was in college, was that specific field goal. And I'll never forget that feeling for sure.
54 yards. Like when you're staring at that, like it's one of those things you say, oh, it's 54 yards. And now we've kind of become conditioned to think, oh, every college kicker can hit one. But you stand down there and look at that. You get on the field yourself like that is a long ways. Like what goes through your mind building up to that moment? You're like, okay, I do this. This is what I was, but that is a 54-yard kick. Or do you even have time to think about it?
I don't have time to think about it. Ben would confirm this, but Coach Spurrier didn't like seeing kickers on the field unless they were extra points. Yeah. So when and this one, I never thought I would get to kick a field goal that long because he would almost rather go for it if it's 4th and 8 from the 31 or 32. Let's go for it, right? Our defense is probably going to hold him anyways. So the funny story behind the 54-yarder is that Coach Spurrier, we got stopped and he said, field goal, field goal, field goal. And so I was a little bit caught off guard because we never even tried one that long. And even in practice, we wouldn't practice anything longer than about 50 yards. And so we went out there and I made the kick. And then after the game, he was in a good mood. He was looking at the stat sheet and he came up and he said, 54 yards. And I said, yeah, Coach, thanks for believing in me. And he goes, if I would have known it was that long, I wouldn't have put you out there. And so, it was kind of one of those moments, like it just kind of fell into place. And I was fortunate to be able to make it. But he started to believe in me more and more as my time went on at Florida and gave me a lot more opportunities than probably he would like. He would never want to kick field goals. He'd rather get 7 points instead of 3.
Coach Spurrier to me was a guy that found a way to have a personal relationship. It ain't always the deepest relationship you ever had, but for him to even go through the stat sheet, because I said, look, Coach Spurrier care about 2 things: quarterback percentages and throwing long touchdowns. But to know that he gave you more opportunities, and whether he knew it or not, Jeff, what are your fondest memories of Coach Spurrier? Because people know of the throwing the headset, but he was a very, very funny, down to earth dude to me.
Yeah, so we used to always we'd start practice. The first period of practice was always special teams, so we do field goals. So we would get to practice 30 minutes early and start warming up. And the coaches would end the meetings, and then they would all the guys would go get dressed, put on their uniform, and come out to practice. So when he was done with his meetings, he'd come out early. So we'd get about 30 minutes of time with Coach Spurrier before anybody else got out there. And just the stories about how he used to kick and how great he was at kicking. It won me the Heisman. And then he would, joke around with our punters too. Those are the types of moments and memories that I'll always remember. I used to joke with everybody. They said, what's he like? And I said, if you did your job, if you showed up to class, you were at meetings, you went to practice, you did your job, great. Best guy ever. He's not going to give you a hard time. I said, it's the guys that he rode the hardest were the ones that weren't doing the right things. And so I always felt like my interactions were limited because he didn't feel like he needed to say anything to me, right? There was nothing that he needed to remind me of that I'm not doing correctly. And so little mannerisms here and there that I still see every now and then. I'm so happy that he's still connected to the program and back. He's just such a big Gator and a big part of the history. And I'm fortunate that I know, Ben, you played for Coach Zook as well. I'm just fortunate that I got to spend my 5 years with Coach Spurrier.
No, I was just going to say, no, Jeff, we get recognized for different things. My kids are, very, very different than yours. My kids don't mind telling people, quote, do you know who my dad is? And stuff like that. Is your dad a Hall of Famer? And things like that. But that's something that to me blows my mind, because I'm like you, Jeff. Look, man, I don't want to get in the way. This machine known as Steve Spurrier, I don't want to mess this up. Did not throw the ball to the tight end. So, but because you had, you went from Riedel, Ike, and Chris Doring and McGriff to, Riche Caldwell, Jabbar Gander, Taylor Jacobs. But Coach Spurrier made football fun.
Yes.
Because if you're not having fun with him, well, you're doing the wrong things in life. Jamie, his assistant Jamie. I tell people this all the time. Jamie got to pick the movies, and Jamie picked the movie Zoolander. And I said, Jamie, you had one thing to do. Talk about just the fact that how Coach Spurrier, he kept it light because he knows the quote big bad Gators and we got all these teams to play. But talk about how he tried to do his best. Say, listen, man, I'm gonna try to make life as simple for you as possible because I know how stressful Saturdays can be.
Yeah, just different moments throughout practice. I remember there was a moon that was beautiful one night. We used to have Monday night practices. It was a chance for, we have a game on Saturday, off on Sunday, and then Monday night would be sort of a get the legs loose again, and then it'd give a chance for the freshmen and the red shirts to scrimmage and do a little bit of that. And so we were finishing up practice, and the moon was out. It was beautiful. He stopped practice, called everybody over, and said, I just want you guys to count your blessings and look at how beautiful it is out here. And I'm just like, we just went from like a really, really intense game on a Saturday to this. And just the environment that he created around there. The coaches were, my interactions with coaches were always very, very positive. I just felt like everybody was having a good time, and it was a great experience to be a part of that.
Jeff Chandler, our guest here on 3 and Out, and he'll be a part of the Florida Georgia Legends Series Roundtable coming up here at 7 o'clock. Jeff, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we've got more to come here live from the Westin on Jekyll Island. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island, getting ready for the third annual Ben Troop Florida Georgia Legends Series. We've already chatted with a couple of guys that are going to be joining you on the roundtable coming up a little bit later tonight. And again, we've got more to come here on the show as we'll talk with some other of the guests that have come in here for the Legends Series. And always good to, as you said, hear the stories, hear talk about. I mean, how about Jeff say, hey, we go home after the game, and some guys drive back to Jacksonville to go partake in the celebration there.
I mean, Kevin, we got them from all over. We got Jacksonville natives, Jeff Chandler, and a D Webb from Florida. We got DJ Jones from Columbus, Georgia. You got Willie McClendon, from Brunswick, Georgia. Carlos Alvarez from Cuba, by the way. The Cuban comment. But this is what I'm supposed to do. At the end of the day, being a former player, being able to provide an opportunity to get to know these guys and the stories. I'm just really, really excited about some of the opportunity to sit down with some of these guys. If I'm not mistaken, D Webb, I think he got his jersey his jersey got retired yesterday at his high school. He get to be a part of that Florida side today. But this is what I'm supposed to do. Being a former player, you ask yourself, how can I provide an opportunity bigger than myself? So the Florida Georgia Legends Series is my way of doing it. You cannot be a legend without first being legendary, and I think everybody on this panel is legendary tonight.
Certainly, and we'll talk more about our picks coming up later in the game. But day before, I know obviously it's a tall task against number 1 Georgia. But how you feeling about this game coming up tomorrow, and about a day out now?
I'm nervous. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I have nothing to do with the game. I talk trash, but I have nothing to do with the game. But I'm excited for Florida for the simple fact that I've seen this before. I do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let me just go ahead and say that I respect the University of Georgia and how they play football. But the story hasn't been written yet. It's going to be written, the next episode, Kevin, is going to happen tomorrow at 3:30 in Jacksonville. But I just go back to my time when I was at Florida, and Georgia brought out the best in me. Those teams that I played against was really, really good teams. Some of the best players ever come through Georgia. And the thing about Florida, Georgia, I know every other game is great, but this is the greatest opportunity you're going to have, because this is when you cement, Kevin, we are baseball fans. We talk about how legends are born, legends are made in the postseason.
Right.
And, icons are made in the World Series. Well, I am not calling myself an icon. I'm not calling myself legendary. I just think that I thank God every day that when my number was called against them Bulldogs, man, I found a way to make it happen, because I am from the state of Georgia, and I have a lot of family members who are Georgia fans who I did not know until I went to Florida. And you just want to look back on this game and say, man, if I'm not going to be the reason we win, I refuse to be the reason we lose. So I just think that tomorrow is another opportunity, because what you do against Tennessee is great. What you do against Florida State and Auburn is great. What you do against Georgia is everything. They will not let you forget it. So I hope that those guys go out there and make a great memory tomorrow.
And again, a tall task against a great defense. Got to be able to move the football. And again, we talked about it on the show just all season long. Not really anybody's been able to do it consistently. How does Florida do it?
Florida comes in with fourth best rushing attack. Florida's offensive line has only given up 5 sacks the whole season. That means nothing, because there's a guy. There's this movie called Freddy Krueger, and it's a guy, he kills you while you're awake.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, this year his name isn't Freddy Krueger. His name is Jordan Davis, and he's a really, really big athletic guy, and he's everything for that Georgia defensive line. But it's an opportunity, Kevin. I mean, we always say it, right? In order to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the man known as Jordan Davis will be, he will be there. I looked at the injury report, and his name isn't on it, so he will be showing up to the game tomorrow. But no, go out there and be yourself. Dan Muller is known for being a great play caller. He's going to have to call a really, really good game. You got to be patient and persistent when it comes to a defense of this magnitude. But look, I've seen Georgia with some great defenses before. I am not saying I went up against the greatest Georgia defense. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm staring over there and I see Richard Seymour and Marcus Stroud and Charles Green and Kendrell Bell and Thomas Davis. I'm thinking, did I make the right decision? Am I at the right place? Yes, I am. But hopefully you go and use those type of opportunities to go out there and try to be the best you, because I judge me up against equal or greater talent. You're not going to go up against a better defense of Georgia. And if you can do it against Georgia, you can do it against anybody. But unfortunately, you got to do it for 4 quarters because I think it's going to be a 4-quarter ball game tomorrow.
And again, we've got more to come here for 3 now. We are live at the Westin on Jekyll Island, getting ready for the Florida Georgia Legends Series. That all gets started at 7 o'clock right here in the courtyard at the Westin. Absolutely free to come out and just enjoy. Have a great time enjoying all the festivities here tonight as we get ready for the big game tomorrow. But we've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. We are coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island in the courtyard area, getting ready for the Florida Georgia Legends Series. We're going to be happening literal steps from where you and I are sitting right now, Ben. So coming up in just a little bit, we got a lot more folks we're going to talk to here, and I know you're excited about the panel that you guys have put together for the Legends Series tonight. Just talking about football, talking about this game, and sharing a bunch of stories. But something else going on tonight. You got Game 3 of the World Series tonight. Braves and Ian Anderson out there, and again, got to have it. It's not a must-win, but I feel like you got to have at least 2 or 3 here. So if it goes back to Houston, you just need to find a way to win one.
Atlanta has found a way, Kevin, to really make Truist Park a home field advantage. So Ian Anderson, I mean, Kevin, we talk about Ian Anderson like he's a seasoned fan. This is his second year in the bigs. But
his first full season.
Exactly, his first full season. But when your first start is against the Yankees and your second start is against the Red Sox, I think you can handle being in the World Series. But I think I feel good about this Braves team, Kevin. They are a different team at home, and you said it. On the road, against Houston, they had to come back and they got game 1. Obviously, got humbled a little bit in game 2, but Truist is going to do his part. You don't have to worry about the Bravo Nation. They're going to do their part tonight, but I think, Kevin, something we've been talking about a lot with the Braves, just be who you are. Be who you are and what got you here. Don't try to do too much. Because, Kevin, if those bats get to going, I think it's going to be a long day for the Astros.
I'm excited just to see the atmosphere, as you said, of Truist Park, because the atmosphere when they were playing the Dodgers was unbelievable. Something you don't hardly ever get to see in the city of Atlanta, where the Hawks haven't been to a finals in a long, long time. I don't know if they've ever been to a finals. As a matter of fact, they haven't been to a finals. The Falcons have been to a Super Bowl, but the best you could do is an NFC Championship game as far as home field environment. This is the World Series, something that you have not seen in this city in 21 years. And I think it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. I'm excited to see what it looks like tonight when that Braves team, if a big play happens, that stadium might fall down at the end of the day.
Now, Kevin, look, wow. I mean, this is one of those, where were you? Obviously, we're going to be in Jekyll when the game is going on. But, Kevin, I mean, at the end of the day, this Braves team was earned. I don't want to hear this. They deserve to be here. They earned a chance to be here. They earned 4 years. They had to go through the gauntlet. I mean, they had to overcome the worst first inning in playoff history with Mike Fodenavich against some Cardinals. Then they came up six outs short last year to be back-to-back World Series participants. But here they are, Game 3. Listen, the only way to lose the World Series is to be in the World Series, and right now they got good as shot as any. Because, Kevin, I don't know what the stats are, but if you win Game 3. That's got to make you feel good moving forward because, Kevin, I mean, it's 3 games in Truist this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Come Sunday, Braves handle business. We could be ready. We could be getting ready to hoist up another World Series trophy.
Well, man, that would be amazing. I don't want to speak that into existence just yet. You got to win. You got to win at least. Got to win tonight to at least make that a possibility. But yeah, Braves back at home. Again, I think you did what you were supposed to do, and I guess that's a hard thing for fans to look at and say, look. The goal was to win 1, so you get back home and you keep it even on the road. But the way you lost Game 2, everybody started freaking out like, oh, no. But, hey, keep it together and get a win tonight. And, again, we'll have coverage for you starting at 7 o'clock, first pitch just after 8 o'clock here this evening. Braves and Astros. We've got more of the Georgia-Florida Legends Series. We are live at the Westin on Jekyll Island, and this is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. Hour 2 here of 3 and Out on this Friday, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island. Getting ready for the Florida Georgia Legends Series. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop here with you. BJ Bennett running around somewhere. I don't know, we've seemed to have lost him here on the show this afternoon, but we're glad you're making us a part of your day. And again, coming up tonight at the Westin here in the courtyard, 7 o'clock, we'll have the third annual Florida Georgia Legends Series. Ben, I know we are looking forward to that. And our next guest is on the Georgia side of this rivalry, and again, got himself some bling there with the Bulldogs. 7th round pick by the Green Bay Packers as well. DJ Jones, former Georgia Bulldog, joins us. DJ, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Pleasure to be here. Can I get some ears?
Could you get? Sure, we can turn you up a little bit. Let's see if that helps you out. Can you hear better?
I cannot.
Oh, he got him flipped.
You got him flipped around? Now we'll get you. Is that better?
All right. That makes sense. All right.
I was like, I can crank it up a little bit more, but we're glad you were here. And again, just talk about I don't know if it was Ben or you came in as a quarterback, and they told me that you actually after the 80 season said, hey, I want to move to somewhere on the field where I can come in and come in. Tell us about that decision and kind of what led you to that.
Well, it meant a lot for me to get an opportunity to play to compete at the position at my freshman year. And Coach Dooley convinced me and told my parents that he'd give me an opportunity to play, and he did that. And I played. I got as high as the second team quarterback, got some mop-up duty action on that national championship team. But the biggest part of that was being the scout team quarterback. I got a chance to see that I belonged in the SEC because, we gave that defense all they could handle every day, every week, running the opposing team's plays. And Eric Russell, God bless the dead, the legend himself, he was crazy about me and the other scout teamers that because we gave such a great picture and tremendous look for that championship defense. So with that said, Buck Bellew was the winning quarterback in 1980. He was coming back for his junior year, which obviously meant that I couldn't beat him out. I mean, unless he would gotten hurt and I didn't want to stand on the sideline holding the clipboard. I had proven to everybody and myself that I deserved to play. And all the defensive backs, mind you, had graduated from that 1980 national championship team. So I lined up in the spring as the number 1 left corner, ended up getting injured. But again, it played out because I ended up playing the next couple of years and getting drafted by the Packers.
And DJ, talk about that a little more, because your path is one to where, and obviously we got a chance to talk a little bit yesterday. You talk about the fact that number one, you got Coach Dooley off the hook. It wasn't Coach Dooley that made you do anything, but spending a whole year getting the starting defense ready, you're showing off more athleticism than Obviously, you can throw the football, you can use your legs, but when the defensive coordinator approaches you, because you went from backup quarterback to starting corner, not playing corner, what was that like a transition like? Because while you can do it, it's one thing to throw receivers. Now you got to cover them.
Absolutely. It's a transition, but when, I was an athlete, man, I could run, I could, I had good size and I was very aggressive. Even though I was a quarterback, what's the philosophy with me? Either hit or be hit, and if I'm running, dropping back the pass or rolling out, if I couldn't shake you, I was going to attack you. So that part of it, it was the physicality of it. It was not a problem as you have with most quarterbacks. So, again, I just was able to put it together, had good feet. And the secondary was the best option as well as returning kicks.
I say describing that, I can see why Eric Russell came to him and said, hey, I want somebody that can hit somebody, right? He knew what he was getting when he got you over there, right?
Yeah. I tell you, it was just a pleasure to be able to play under a guy like Vince Dooley and, of course, the defensive coordinator, Eric Russell, and again, George Hafner. A lot of people might not remember him, but he was a offensive coordinator in the days with Tony Dorsett at Pitt. So just a great staff there that Coach Dooley assembled in 1980.
The competition in practice is something that's not talked about enough. People see us one day a week, but they don't understand. Your roommate might be the starting receiver, and y'all got to do everything together. And then right before y'all get on the field, it's like this. Not only am I going to shut you down, that's my shirt you got on. That's what people don't realize. But talk about how competitive practice was. I'm not saying the game is easy,
yes.
but practice made the game easier.
Absolutely, because again, and that was a good thing about it with me. I love to practice. Some guys just like to go through the motions. Some guys didn't like the conditioning. Some guys didn't like to do the drills. Well, I figure if you didn't like to practice, you didn't like to play football, because obviously, the competition day to day in camp, during the season, during the week, it was just something that you had. If you didn't have the passion for it, then obviously you weren't going to be around long. And I just enjoyed it. because again, you're going up against the best in the nation. You're going up against the best in the state. You were recruited by a bunch of guys that, in the classes before you. So you're competing amongst the best against the best, and it was nothing like it, especially on a championship team.
DJ Jones joining us here on 3 and Out, and you looked at this year's Georgia-Florida game. You talk about playing defense. Man, Georgia's been doing that at a ridiculous level. What do you see when you watch those guys play?
I just see a team that really, really, epitomizes the term of junkyard dog defenses. I mean, these guys are probably, and it's hard to say. And again, I don't like comparing, but this defense is one of the best that I've seen. And a lot of those players had an opportunity to go to the next level, but they decided to stay. And I see that Coach Smart obviously, got to have those guys believing. They bought in and they understand what it's all about. Now, again, this is the year, what we think and we hope. But that defense has a lot to do with it. And, they have a lot of people talking about them, including, you go to I'm in the press box at most of the games, and you see all of these pro scouts there from, not, usually you have, maybe a handful, but you see dozens and dozens of scouts at these games. And then during the pregame, they're walking around and looking at these defensive players, warm up. And again, that tells you right there a lot. If you don't know anything about football, why are these professional scouts at the game?
When you learn the defense, most of the time that you are learning your position and what your position does. Problem is, you are part of a concept. When you look at Coach Lanning and what he does with his Georgia defense, they're playing conceptual football. I cannot spell it, but I do know what it means, DJ. Talk about just how that football IQ, because people talk about exotic defense, but you got to have the personnel that can run those defenses.
You're absolutely right, man. They got the Joes, man, and no doubt about it. Kirby has done a tremendous job, he and his staff, of getting the top talent, not just in the state, in the country. These guys have really done a great job over the past few years. You could tell by what they ranked in the recruiting process. And Dan Lanning, you got the athletes. Again, and it's not just the athletes, they have depth. You go to second and third deep, and these guys just keep coming. And it's amazing, and you hadn't seen a lot of that in a long time. It's unusual for a team can go 3 deep and still be just as competitive with the first group and the third group.
DJ Jones joining us here on 3 Now. We talked to a number of guys about winning that championship, and I like to ask guys, when did you kind of feel like it was possible? And I would imagine with you guys, it started in Jacksonville with obviously one of the most famous plays in the history of football. But did you guys think it was headed that direction before you even got to that play in Jacksonville?
Well, what was unusual was that my first game of my freshman year, we went up to Knoxville, and again, a lot of people don't remember this, but the great Herschel Walker, my classmate, was third or fourth team at that particular time. We fell behind up there. It was 100 plus people there up in Knoxville at the stadium. And it was one of those situations where at halftime, Coach Dooley, one of the coaches, came to him and said, look, we want to put Herschel in. And by God, they put him in, and the rest was history. But what the funny thing about that is that, what you guys saw that first game as Herschel ran over Bill Bates and then, of course, went on to just an iconic season as a freshman. You didn't realize that when we came in as freshmen, now we talked about playing scout team. Well, Herschel didn't play scout team, but he was third or fourth team. He didn't have a run over 20 yards that I could remember that we had in preseason practice. Nothing extraordinary, nothing of what you saw that was Herschel like throughout his career. Very ordinary. And again, it was a shock to me. It was just as much as it was a shock to all of the teammates.
When did you know you was ready? Everybody goes to college. Everybody's athletes. Everybody can play. Everybody can run. You came in because Vince Dooley told your mom that you're going to get a chance to play the quarterback position. You move on to the other side of the ball. You went from backup quarterback to starting cornerback. At what was it, practice or was it a game? You said, okay, I'm ready, coach. I can go out there and I can compete with the best in the country.
Well, again, as playing quarterback and being on the scout team, and we know that, like you said, they only see us once a week. But during the week, during all the 2 days, when I was running scout team and breaking runs, and obviously, you know how it is, coach say, run it again. Well, we run it again, and I reverse and come out the backside and gain 20 yards. But I knew then, something, it was a little special, and I knew I wasn't big headed or anything, but I just knew I belonged, and it was just a matter of time that I got an opportunity to get on the field.
DJ Jones joining us. We talked about going to the Georgia-Florida game. You're from West Georgia. I know when you talk to the Georgia fans, hey, if you're from a Columbus area, hey, we really want to beat Auburn. That's the game. North Georgia is Tennessee, South Carolina. When did you kind of find out how big this game in Jacksonville was in terms of Georgia and Florida?
When I stepped off the bus down here my freshman year, man, it was unbelievable. I was telling Ben the other day, we got off the bus over at the stadium in Jacksonville, and you can literally smell the alcohol in the air. And so I knew we were in for something special, man. But the pageantry, the culture of this game, it's just so special. And I'm glad to have I've been a part of it for 4 years.
Now, DJ, I had Willie McClinton on earlier. Obviously, me and you talked about it, a little bit yesterday, just one-on-one. But you could have went anywhere you wanted to. You chose the University of Georgia. And Vince Dooley smart. Vince Dooley said, "I don't want to talk to DJ. I want to talk to Mama Jones." Mama Jones said, "Do my baby get to go and play quarterback?" But what is this like knowing that you are cemented, not just in the Georgia-Florida game, you was a Georgia Bulldog for life? What does it mean to DJ Jones knowing, man, I'm a Georgia Bulldog for life?
Well, growing up, again, my dad, had we watched the Braves, we watched the Falcons, we watched everything Georgia, and then Georgia Bulldogs. Coach Dooley had a highlight show that came on, and watching those shows and watching Coach Dooley with that that tie and that little sweater vest on the sideline, and the calmness about him, the way he ran the team as like a CEO. He wasn't a screamer or hollerer. He was one of those guys that he seemed like, again, he treated his players like men, and I later found out that was true. And that's what I fell in love with following the Bulldogs as a youngster.
DJ, man, we Florida, Georgia, Florida. We know Georgia's coming in with all the momentum. Number one in the country, a defense that they suffocate you. They don't want to give up 1 yard. And you mentioned they can go 3 deep. But why is it when it comes to Georgia, Florida, that stuff doesn't matter? I'm not saying the team or the teams aren't good, but why is it Jacksonville just you could throw out everything that happened before that? You could throw out records. You could throw out, a record breakers, Heisman Trophy finalists, or whomever. Why does Georgia, Florida just, be on a different scale than every other game?
Well, I think it's the athletes, man. I mean, the athletes that come out of Florida that end up at Georgia, and the Georgia athletes that end up in Florida. The recruiting process. I mean, obviously, your quarterback from right up the road from Columbus, there, Emory Jones, man. He's right there in our backyard. Of course, we covered him in high school, but I guess it's just the competition factor with these guys, and they know each other. Most of those guys, they played against each other in high school all-star games, and but again, at the end of the day, when you talk about the University of Florida and Georgia, it's just one of those rivalries, man, that it's the world's largest cocktail party, and it started a long time ago, and guys, grow up looking at it, watching it, and now you all of a sudden you're in it on national television, and you want to show everybody that you're the best.
DJ Jones, our guest here on 3 and Out. He'll join Ben and the panel at the Georgia Florida Legend Series coming up here at the Westin tonight at 7 o'clock. DJ, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
We've got more to come here live from the Westin on Jekyll Island. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out, live from the Westin on Jekyll Island, getting ready for the Georgia-Florida Legend Series coming up at 7 o'clock here into the courtyard of the Westin. And again, I know we've got a lot of guests coming in. Ben, really looking forward to the roundtable discussion a little bit later tonight, as well as folks. You know, this is a kind of ground central. It's Jacksonville, but also St. Simon's, Jekyll Island, ground central for a lot of folks who come down and enjoy the weekend and then get ready for the game on Saturday.
Yeah, trying to start our own traditions here in Jekyll Island. I mean, we think about it, Kevin. I mean, we know Beluga Scott. We know how crazy that call was, and they were saying, "quote." We know we know it's something. They tearing up everything in Jekyll and St. Simon's. We're trying to be able to start our some incredible traditions here in Jekyll Island, the beautiful Westin Hotel at Jekyll Island. And this is my way of just paying it forward. When you're playing this incredible game at these two great universities, you want to be able to say as a former player, how can I show respect to the ones that came through us? So my Florida Georgia Legends series, my Florida Georgia Legends roundtable is how I do that. Looking forward to great conversations.
And again, you mentioned Beluga Scott, so I'll ask you about that. Have you ever been involved with a play like that? Because people talk about that defined that whole season. I mean, Georgia obviously still had more games to play and all that, but Beluga Scott, that was what you hear. That's the first thing you go to when you talk about that 1980 season for Georgia. Have you ever been involved with a play like that where you're like, okay, something really big just happened? Like, obviously something big in the game happened, but something really big just happened.
I was blessed to catch the game winner in 2002, but I was too young and naive to understand the severity of the situation, Kevin. Like, thank God we only had 10 yards to go. If I would have been on the 8-yard line, I got to take it that far. Well, I'm definitely gonna get chased down from behind. But I think that's why you practice the way you do. That's why you go about the way you do. You don't want to let your teammates down. I was the type of player to where I just didn't want to be the reason why we lost the game. I know how hard guys work, and I know how much it means to those guys. So, excuse me. I just always look back at I just want to be a great teammate. If I become a great player in the process, so be it. But Kevin, you know what it's like. You just want to be able to say, hey, listen, when they called my number, I made a play. I don't got to make the most miraculous play of all time, but if you don't make the play, that's what you remember forever. Like, I can't remember all the plays, quote, I made in my life, but every play I didn't make, I can take it the time, I can take it the place, I can take it the quarter it was in. So I feel blessed and humbled to have been a part of a great part of history, because you don't know it's historic when you're doing it. It takes years down the line, and it takes being reminded by that opposing fan base to let you know they cannot stand your behind.
I gotta say, who reminds you more about your moment, the Florida fans or the Georgia fans? I know you have. I know you have Christian doing it every day.
Yeah, it's always gonna be Georgia fans, because in their mind, you're lucky. Oh, you just lucky. Oh, you just. But at the same time, too, you realize that you fully engulfed in the game when you don't even realize the situation that you're in. 2002, the play that stands out the most to me is not the touchdown pass that I caught. It was a Jacksonville native, Gus Scott. I don't know how many picks Gus had in his career, but that boy took one to the crib in Jacksonville against DJ Shockley, and he's from Jacksonville doing that. That's what stood out to me the most, man, because I came in with Gus in 2000, and look, man, that when it comes to the DBs at Florida, man, you make a mistake, they make you pay. Gustavo made him pay that night.
And again, we got a big showdown, 3:30 tomorrow in Jacksonville. Georgia, the number one team coming in. I know you said this a lot, and I know people say, well, Ben obviously wants Florida to win. But, I mean, we have seen it a number of times for a long time in this rivalry, even when Florida was in the midst of that, streak where it was very one-sided. There are several times where Georgia came in as the better team. I know there's been times where Florida has come in as the better team and didn't win. So it's truly, I think, one of those series, Ben, where you say it and it sounds like, oh, Kevin, Ben, BJ, whoever, we're just throwing out the cliches of throwing out the record. But in this series, it has been true at times where the team with the momentum, the better team on paper, has not won the football game.
Florida, Georgia is a prove-it game, because it doesn't matter what you did up until that point. You got to prove it to yourself. You got to prove it to that opposing team that, yeah, they've had a really, really good season. We've had a really, really good season, but I'm going to judge myself based off that guy in front of me. I don't do the whole SEC, it means more. Kevin, you never hear me say that stuff, but it matters. It matters more when you play against Georgia, because that's bragging rights for life. Forget 364 days. That's bragging rights for life, because people are going to ask you, if you from Florida, your biggest rivalry might be Florida State. If you're from the state of Georgia like me, my biggest rivalry was Georgia. You don't want to lose to either one of them boys, but I'm telling you, you get to playing with the guys I was blessed to play with. Not letting them down was far exceeded the University of Georgia. I ain't taking nothing away from Georgia, but I got to face these dudes when I get back on this bus. We ride the bus from Gainesville to Jacksonville. I don't want to be on that bus, man, because I didn't make a play. So I just know that Florida Georgia is near and dear to my heart. I thank God every day I am 4-0 against them boys. But like I said, when you beat Georgia, that's what we talk about when we get back around each other. We ain't talking about the Natties or SEC championship game. We talk about what happened in Jacksonville, because what happened in Jacksonville, that's what you're going to remember the most.
All right, players tonight, obviously you're getting ready for the game tomorrow. How do you kind of keep it together? How do you kind of stay calm before and not get overhyped about what's going to happen tomorrow one way or the other?
I'm going to say this. We got a lot of different generations, right?
Or is that impossible?
No. We got Carlos Alvarez, the Cuban comic. We got Willie McClendon. We got DJ Jones. You got Jeff Chandler. You got myself, but then you got the wild card. You got D Webb. I'm going to tell you why. D Webb is the youngest of the group. D Webb is a Jacksonville native. And D Webb got that look like, listen, I'm gonna keep it PG, but if they say the wrong thing, I'm gonna just turn them loose. But listen, love D Webb, man. Happy to have him down here. But that's what it's about, man. It always starts respectful, but we all played the game, so we all respect each other. But look, man, listen, you got. I mean, D Webb know what I'm talking about, man. D Webb represent Duval. They bang them where they hang them. You got to know about Duval to know what I'm talking about. Looking forward to have D Webb on, but if D Webb get loose, hey man, that's what he's down here for.
Okay, we will talk to him when we come back. You're live at the Westin on Jekyll Island. Coming out and see us. The Georgia Florida Legend Series gets started 7:00. Absolutely free to come out here and attend, and you can hear Ben and a list of greats who played in this Georgia Florida game. Going to be talking about it coming up a little bit later tonight. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you are with us as we are live at the Westin on Jekyll Island, getting ready for the Georgia-Florida Legends Series here in the courtyard at the Westin, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Absolutely beautiful Friday afternoon here. Hope you'll come out and join us. All the festivities get started at 7 o'clock. Absolutely free to attend. So we encourage you to come on out and join us here at the Westin on Jekyll Island. And Ben, we're just loaded up with guests. Our next guest is going to join you on the other round table, play with you at Florida. If you ever need a hype man, D, Ben is your guy. Ben will hype you up. But D Webb joining us here on the 3 and Out. How you doing?
I'm fine. Great to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
And again, Ben's talked about so much about playing in this game, but you're a guy that's from Jacksonville. What'd that mean to you when you got to Florida to be able to come back and play that game in your hometown?
It meant a lot, especially being from the hometown, knowing we have a rich tradition since Pop Warner all the way up to the Jaguars. When we got the Jaguars, we breed, eat football. So it's a must. When I got the opportunity to come home and bless the crowd with my talents, I had to do my thing.
Now, D, man, what's more pressure, playing in Florida or being from Jacksonville and playing in Florida?
In this particular game right here, being from Jacksonville, playing for Florida. Because, like C4 said, man, they gonna let you know. They go give it to you hard whenever they see you out in the stores or whatnot, and they go critique every little thing you do. So it's like I have to put on.
You're getting a Georgia team coming in. Obviously, they're playing very well. Number one team in the country. A lot of folks think the game tomorrow is going to hinge on Florida and that defense and their ability to keep the Gators in the football game.
Yeah, we had like the top 5 defense going against what I think ranked like 40 something in their offense. But at this particular point in this type of game right here, this magnitude right here, records don't even matter. You could be the sorriest team coming into the game. It's about pride at the end of the day. Who go take the doggone what I want to say, how I can say it, the bragging rights of the state Georgia line. Because we always wanted to play against each other coming up in high school. They entered the series, the Florida-Georgia series in high school when my senior year came. So for me, it was more of like anytime we played them, it's like I don't care if we and whatever.
Sure.
I got to put on.
I was going to say, because Ben's talked about playing in that game, and Ben, you have said, look, that kind of added to it for you because you're like, hey, I played on the Georgia high school team to play the Florida high school team with David Pollock and David Green, some of those guys, David Green. I mean, and you said they kind of added to it. Was that kind of it for you? And I wish they would do something like that again. But you're like, hey, I kind of played with some of these guys already.
I'm gonna tell you, it was everything for me because, like I say, they stopped that series my senior year, and I was pretty much like, man, I was scared of playing, so I didn't want to go to the Florida-California game or go out to the All-American game. That's the only game I was gonna play in my senior, and they took it away from me, so I didn't have a chance to really cement my doggone greatness against the Georgia players coming up in the high school rankings. So when I got my chance and I went committed to Florida, that was one of the games I circled on the calendar that I have to do my thing.
D, you play DB, and I know it's different when you out there because you got to have a short memory. You with arguably the best athlete on the team. But man, what is them battles like? I mean, like I said, I mean it's in a team maybe with the Jaguars that you grew up rooting for, but you're going up against them boys from athletes. When what are those battles like out there? Because the rest of the world is in here, and you out there on that island.
Basically, first and foremost, you have a short memory because you're going against the players that just as skillful as you, just as fast as you, bigger than you sometimes at that. But it's all being in that box. You and him in that box going in a heavyweight match, and you got to win more than him. That's my mentality I took as DB, and that's how I went throughout my whole career. It's me against you, and I feel like I'm going to come on top more than you beat me.
Indeed, man, when you being here at this Florida Georgia Legends Series, I remember when I reached out to you. Obviously, you were a guy that ended up having tremendous success, at Florida. But being a former player and being able to look at what these players deal with now, because it's different than me and you play. They can make money now. Woo! I mean, and I know that bothers you and me. I mean, I remember I remember Nolan Simmons only because that's where you go get that Pell Grant from, but. How much more pressure do you think these guys are under, and how much guidance do you think they lack? And not necessarily they don't have it, but people like myself and yourself being able to give those young boys wisdom.
You call it pressure, but I think in our time, we feel like it's more of an opportunity because it's like they got it's all right there in their hands right now. It's like they giving you a doggone bridge to brand yourself at this particular time, strictly coming out of high school, so I can make myself who I want to be before I even think about the NFL and make that a doggone choice of do I still want to do it. So me, I just really, as far as me, what I'm doing right now is trying to give back and get them an understanding of what they have, what we didn't have, and y'all can brand yourselves and be your own boss, be your own brand, and use that to get you further in life and start early.
I'll say that's a hard thing to I don't think I would have comprehended that at 18, 19 years old about what a brand meant. But as you said, there was no Twitter,
None of
that stuff. And now, you're dealing with, hey, you are a brand, you are representing not, I mean, I know Ben saw, hey, you represent yourself, you represent y'all's case, Florida, but now you might also represent somebody else.
Exactly.
While you're out there doing it all at the same time.
Right. And if them been getting to do that at a younger age, I feel like people like us former athletes, we have to get them to understanding like what y'all guys have. And like y'all under a big microscope and everything could be seen, everything, pretty much anything that go on the internet is out there now.
Oh,
So yeah.
And D, how much better of a player you think you could have been? You said something that I think a lot of these listeners, might have missed. You said, man, the NFL is less of a choice because I'm developing me right now. We want to go, make no mistake about it. But
Right.
if D Webb, the brand, is already a brand, the NFL is a brand of itself. How much different is the NFL when you say, well, look, man, I'm not learning how to make money. I'm learning how to save money while I'm 18, 19, 20, 21, because we are the first of our kind in everything. Graduating high school, going to college. And unfortunately, people hear NFL and think we all got Peyton Manning money.
Right. Exactly. And that's definitely not the case. It's probably like 5 people each team that's making life-changing money. And what these guys have right now is basically like y'all guys could pretty much control your own destiny. It still could be like part one all over again. It still could be a hobby for you guys. You just have to learn how to utilize what you guys have for these social media platforms. And like I say, you are a brand now. And use that brand to bring in your income. So when you go into the next level, it's not like I'm going to work. So to say, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I got a big microscope as coach on my back, and I got to make this play. I got to make. I could come in and still part one all over again because I'm making stuff outside of football.
And D, yesterday, Seattle Faison,
Right.
Keywan Rattler, Rat. Them boys getting enshrined as 2021 Florida Georgia game Hall of Fame inductees. I know people think we all self-centered. I only care about me, but talk about when you see your people going, getting enshrined. You be feeling like it's you up there.
You're right, and like that's crazy that you say it's a brotherhood. We all still like Keywan and C4. We all still keep in contact to this day. So seeing those two guys and being in battle with those two guys in this particular game and games over the years too is just like you can't do nothing but embrace it yourself. Like you said, you up there with them. So it's like it's a good thing. I'm happy for both of those guys. They well deserving of the award and like C4 from the crib. So it's like he did what he needed to do in that game to get this doggone recognition. So I much respect to him, and that's one of my mans.
D Webb joining us here on 3 and Out. Now we talked to a lot of folks. Ben has said this. Hey, I heard about Georgia, Florida, but obviously it was right there in Jacksonville. Did you kind of have an idea of what you were walking into that first Georgia, Florida game, or was even then you're like, well, this might even be bigger than I think it is?
No, I knew everything. I knew it was all it lived up to because, like I said, I'm from Jacksonville, and like from elementary all the way to high school, the city pretty much shut down like on Wednesday for the biggest cocktail party coming in. So it's like we're doing stuff like holiday stuff in school for this doggone game. And at that particular time, I wasn't a Gator fan; I was a Hurricane fan. So I was being against I was being oddball. I used to cheer for Georgia because I was a Hurricane. So I knew what it was when I got a chance to come to University of Florida. Like I say, as soon as I went to Florida, that was like one of the main games. If I was going to be hurt that game, it was Miami I wanted to play against. Like you say, Georgia was the team you want to play against. It was Miami because that was the team I loved always growing up in Georgia. Like those are two guys. I don't care if I was hurt, I was going to play in those games.
Lito Shepherd, Bam Harmon, Gus Scott, O.J. Small, Seattle Faison, U.D. Webb. Man, that Jacksonville, Florida tradition is serious, and it's almost like you guys always have somebody going to Florida every year doing your thing, man. What is that like knowing that, man? I know a bunch of guys not last name Webb that's still carrying on this big time Florida tradition.
And it's crazy that you say that. I'm working on my little cousin right now. He's a 5-star recruit. He done committed to Oklahoma right now. We're trying to switch that up right now. So behind closed doors. But yeah, it's a rich tradition from Jacksonville players going to like I said, going to like you say, going to Florida. Like I wasn't big on Gators. It took like the Litos, the Bams to bring me up there. Like it's right up the road from us, so 45 minutes. So I used to spend a lot of time up there and just being around those guys, doing out my high school career, especially my junior and senior year coming up and hanging out with y'all guys. It was like I was part of the team. Everybody knew I was already. So it's like a pipeline already going on. It's gonna continue to go on, and it make it better that it's like 45 minutes away.
Now, D man, the one thing, I mean, obviously we only played with each other 1 year. The one thing I remember about you, man, didn't say a lot.
Right.
Very, very even kill. But man, we get on that field. I'm like, something click. I said, dude, that's a dude I just man. And what is that like knowing that? Look, man, I'm a even kill, easy going dude, but I won't smoke on that field.
I think football. Ain't no think I know football. I'm two different type of people, just like you said. When I get on that field, it was like, and I could credit Bam for a lot of it because I didn't even go to school with Bam when I was high school, but we from the same high school. But when he found out I was a player and I was like the next up and coming at my school, he used to come back and pay me. You know what I'm saying? Just to kill me. So he put that mentality in me, like, you great, man. You know what I'm saying? Go on the field, act like you the man on the field. So when anytime I stepped on the field, it was like, I'm that dude. So it was like that's how I carried myself.
And then finally, man, I mean, when you think about the fact that you're a Hurricanes fan, you end up coming to Florida, you still see many of your legacy. I've been blessed enough to go onto the Florida Georgia Game Hall of Fame. I've seen Keywan, I've seen Alex Brown, I've seen C4. D Webb, man, they got your number, man. If they call your phone and say, "Hey, is this D Webb?" Like, yeah, you've been inducted to the 20 whatever
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, man. I want to know one thing: do you cry on that stage, D Webb?
Ooh. I can't say I won't. I can't say I won't because that's a big accomplishment, especially being from the crib. So I can't say I won't.
D Webb, our guest here on 3 and Out. He'll be a part of the Florida Georgia Legends series coming up here in just a little bit with Ben leading the roundtable here at the Westin on Jekyll Island. Come on out and see us, D. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all for having me on. Thank you.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to 3 and Out, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island. A beautiful Friday afternoon here as we get ready for the third annual Florida Georgia Legends Series. Ben Troop here with us, and Ben will be leading the roundtable coming up at 7 o'clock. Absolutely free to come out and just enjoy all the fun here at the Westin on Jekyll Island in the courtyard. We encourage you to come out and just enjoy all the stories that they're going to share here about this Georgia and Florida game that a lot of folks have come to know and love. And Ben, I'll let you introduce our next guest. And you were telling me some tremendous stories about Carlos, but I'll let you bring him on the show here.
Oh man, my next guest, our next guest is football royalty. I'm gonna do my best to remember it all. Just give me a second. University of Florida Hall of Famer, college football Hall of Famer. When he left Florida, was the all-time leading receiver for the University of Florida. Academic Hall of Famer, which I didn't even know was possible. I sure as hell ain't an academic Hall of Fame. But bigger than that, just a great human being, the great Carlos Alvarez. How you doing today, Carlos?
Ben, I'm doing great. Great to be with you here.
Now, Carlos had one rule, Kevin, when we was putting this thing together, get on the phone, country boy, yes sir, no sir. So I'm going, how you doing, Mr. Alvarez? How you doing, Mr. Carlos gets it. You go through the whole phone call. Carlos says just one thing, big. Yeah, don't call me Mister. So I said, okay, but Carlos, man, we're here and at the beautiful, Westin, Jekyll Island for the my third annual Florida Georgia Legend Series. Before we even get into the game, what are you most looking forward to for the Florida Georgia Roundtable?
Really hearing both sides, the players talk about how they approach the game and their feeling about the game. When it all's said and done, the players sitting at that round table have more in common with each other than everything else. I mean, they have gone through the ordeal of getting ready for a game, for actually getting to that level of play and all of that, and they share more in common than anybody else. And sharing those stories is what I'm looking forward to. I read, I won't go into it, but his name is Buck Swindle. He was a defensive back at the University of Georgia. And I think you may know that ESPN did a documentary on me, and he was in that documentary. And I got his book, and I started reading his book, like I was reading your book, and I brought the book to show you. But in reading that book, he had stories in there that just blew my mind about things that I didn't know University of Georgia players were going through at the same time I was during that time. So really, it's just that. It's just really seeing what was in the minds of the other players. Like him and I, we had Buck and I had a situation where he was covering me. I won't go beyond that at this point, but what he was thinking at the time and what I was thinking at the time. And he shares it in the book, and it just kind of blew me away. So those kinds of stories, it's really what kind of what I'm looking for. And I think it gives you an insight into the game, and you get to appreciate the game a lot more. And I mean that for everybody.
Hey, Carlos, Ben was kind of telling me your story about how you got to the University of Florida, and share some of that, how you got into football in the first place.
Well, I'm Cuban born. My family came here in 1960, about a year and a half after Fidel Castro came. I knew when we landed on a ship, my mom and dad left everything behind. I have two brothers and a sister. Left everything behind. Walked off the ship in Key West. My dad looked at us and said, "We're never going back." Which at that point I didn't know. I thought we were like visiting, and he said, "We're never going back." And he had gone to law school with Fidel Castro. So he had a pretty good knowledge of what was going to go on with the island and all of that. So we're never going back. So we love sports, but I was Cuban. I was a baseball player. I love baseball. But think about landing in 1960, and then in 1969, I was telling Ben last night, 9 years later, my first game at Florida as a sophomore, freshman, couldn't play back then. Third play of the game, I'm running down the west sidelines on the third play of the game against the number 1 team in the nation, Houston, for a 70-yard touchdown pass. I mean, it's the American story. What can you say? I mean, it's the best. It's sort of the best of America. America has many parts, but that is kind of the best of America. That 9 years later, I'm running down there. And the reason I'm running down there is because I want to be an American. That's the reason I picked up football, because it was my ticket to become an American. And luckily, I had great mentors that, if we talk about how we got here, you're always going to talk about the people who helped you, because there are a number of them that without them, I'm not here. But I had the boys clubs, now Boys and Girls Clubs of America. There was one in my neighborhood that was incredible. I had a coach named Rudy Freitas. I had, of course, my mom and dad, my brothers, all of those people helping me. And but that's how I got there. And in fact, when I was running, some people have asked me, okay, so that third play, you catch it, and you may relate to this, man. Says, what were you thinking, after you caught it? Were you thinking you drop it or something? Right. I said, I never thought about dropping it. I mean, that never crossed my mind. It's sort of like automatic. But the thing that did cross my mind is don't get caught from behind. I don't know why, but I thought that was a disgrace if you got caught from behind. So that's my story, how I got there. I mean, I could talk forever on it, but it's been a ticket for me. And by the time that year was over, I was an All-American, but I wasn't an American citizen. So I was still a Cuban.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I still had that to look forward to.
Now, Carlos, people are given nicknames, right? And your nickname was obviously very, very unique to you, given to you, by the people, asking you about what your nickname is. So please tell our listeners who your idol was growing up and what your idol's nickname was.
So in that sophomore year, in the middle of the year, they're asking the information director at University of Florida, Norm Carlson, does he have a nickname? Back then they used to give people more nicknames. Now it's not as much, because I don't know, there may be a little bit of a political correctness on that or something. But back then it was like, you just got a nickname. And so it was at a press conference and nobody could think of, he hasn't been given a name. And some press person said, how about the Cuban Comet? And Norm Carlson said, yeah, that sounds really good. And that became, next day, he's the Cuban Comet. And then, of course, that name got picked up quite a bit. And because we played Miami at the end of the season and we went to the Orange Bowl, it was when a lot of Cubans showed up, because I was a novelty, and so the Cuban Comet name absolutely stuck. So it wasn't until many years later that I found out that my absolute hero, and this is no lie, my absolute hero growing up in Cuba was a baseball player named Minnie Minoso. In Cuban, it's Minnie Minoso. It says Minnie Minoso, who was any Chicago White Sox fan knows exactly who Minnie Minoso is. And a great player who is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame because black players were not able to play in his younger years. If he had those years added in, he would be a walk-in to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's really a shame that he's not. And I try to mention that whenever I can. And he was he was called the Cuban Comet, which I didn't know. So when I learned this about 15 years ago, I was just like shocked and amazed. And I actually called him up, and I never could get a hold of him because he was at a stage of his life that he was about to die. I talked to a representative of him, and it told him that I would always fight for Minnie. But how thrilled I was that my hero had the same name. And then I find out what physically, of course, he looked like a giant to me, but physically he was exactly the same statistics as me. 5'11", 175. He was fast. He was faster than me. I mean, he said he was a fabulous player. And So that's the story on the Cuban comment.
Carlos, you mentioned a few times that baseball was your first love. When you came to America, what did you know about American football?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, nothing. I didn't even know what if you had shown me a football, I would have said nice, but shouldn't it be round?
Yeah.
I get a basketball. I knew nothing about American football. So then I go to in fifth grade, I go to a Catholic school, St. James Elementary, and in sixth grade, somebody says, there's this voice club, and says, this is great, and they had, and it may still be the same, but you basically have 3 seasons. You have baseball season, you have basketball season, you have football season. So I started out in the basketball season playing with the basketball team, and then I went into baseball, and I loved that. And then football started, and I went home because, my goodness, I don't even know how to put these things on, and it didn't look like people were hitting each other and stuff like that. But then I thought, gosh, all the friends I developed are playing it, so let me play. It was called, they do it by weight, so it's 95 and under, and you have to be below a certain age group. And so I did, and I started to play. And in an age group, it's still the same. Speed is what you want. I had some speed, so I actually became the quarterback. But I still didn't know English real well, because this is not Miami now. This is Miami 1960, which means that nobody spoke Spanish, and so everybody was speaking English. So I was kind of learning the language. So we developed, even though I was the quarterback, and basically you get the ball and you run a sweep right or a sweep left or something. And by the way, the first play, I didn't tell you this last night. You'll get a kick out of this. So we go to our first game, and I am the quarterback. I get the ball on the first play after the kickoff, and we do a sweep right. And all of a sudden, things open up, and I am running for a touchdown. Except I don't know where the end zone ends. And so, because I'm not familiar with that, and we were playing in the opposite team, and I ran all the way to a fence and touched the fence with the football. That was my first football touchdown. And boy, I had a great game, and I said, this is a fabulous, fabulous game. It wasn't until the second game, when we got our butts kicked in, that I realized, oh, karma here. There can be bad things happening.
Hey, Carlos, man, I think it's interesting when you say that football to you was how you was going to become American. Like, because in a sense, coming from Cuba and loving baseball and understanding, okay, I'm going to be a baseball player, many knows for these different things. You say, okay, if I want to be American, my ticket is this game of football that you see. But how much more did the game of football, outside of you looking at it, this is going to be my ticket to my citizenship, how much more did the game of football teach Carlos Alvarez?
Oh, gosh, taught me a lot. Taught me a lot. I cannot overemphasize that. And it is, while for me it was football, it can be, I think, for many individuals, something. It can be, you can do it in other sports, although I'm not as familiar with it as obviously as I am in football. It's when you get a group of people together for a common purpose, and you have to sacrifice to achieve that purpose. And that, and I mean sacrifice. I don't mean like a day or so. You have to put in, years really to get to that place. And it teaches you discipline. It teaches you community in terms of having to rely on each other, and it teaches you really how to do hard work in order to get ahead. And I think I was relaying this story to you, something that it just shows how it transfers. I ultimately my knees gave out in college, and actually not playing football, I was running track when this happened, but that's another story. So I end up not playing pro. I got drafted by Dallas, but I told them, really, why did you draft me? I just really can't play. But they said, well, why don't you take a year off, go to law school, because I was going to go to law school, and then we'll talk again. And I said, that's great. It's very nice for you to do that. I mean, it's, so I'll definitely do that. So when I went to law school, I thought, my goodness, I've been playing football for 4 years. These people have been studying for 4 years. Now, I did study at Florida, but you can see what I'm talking about. These people this is all they've ever wanted to do. But I thought, okay, I struggled the first couple of weeks in classes, but I really thought these people will not outwork me. I know how to work. Yeah. And it was really transferring what I had learned from football. I can outwork them. And I did. And the success I've had in that is really the discipline that comes from being an athlete, where you take that to a higher level. So I think that really was what football has done for me, and what it can do for a lot of people. And like I said, it's not only football, but in something that is, in some other sport or in some other endeavor, you can achieve that if you put in the hard work.
Carlos Alvarez joining us here on 3 and Out, and we talked about your journey to get to the States and playing football. We got Georgia and Florida playing tomorrow. The first time they were telling you about Georgia, Florida, and you play in Jacksonville, were you like, what in the world is all this about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party? What was that first experience like for you when they were telling you about this game and you got a chance to go play in it?
Well, it just shows my age, but this is a while back. So back then, freshmen couldn't play, right? So I didn't know that much about Florida, Georgia, being really from Miami. I knew, Miami, Florida was a big rivalry. Of course, FSU, Florida, Miami. But I had seen this game. I had seen the Florida, Georgia, because that was a game that was always televised. Even back then when television wasn't going around that much for all the games. So I knew about it. In fact, I had seen Steve Spurrier hit Richard Trapp, one of the great receivers of Florida in the 60s, to win the Florida-Georgia game. I think it was in 67 or 66. And so I knew about the game and the significance of the game, but not the intensity of the game. So when I was a freshman, we came to see the game sitting in the stands. So we were the dummy team for the varsity. And then we came, but Georgia back then just ran the ball. That's all they did is run the ball. So as a wide receiver, I didn't do much that week. So we come up to see the game, and it's a driving rainstorm. Because Florida was having a bad year, one of the dumbest coaching decisions ever. You're not going to believe this. One of the dumbest, even though I absolutely adore this coach, Coach Ray Graves, but I don't know what drove him to do this. He took the offensive coordinator and made him the defensive coordinator, took the defensive coordinator, made him the offensive coordinator for that game. The result of that game, 53-0, Georgia wins. In the driving rain, as I watch the incredible Jake Scott dominate a game. I have never seen that before. I have never seen that since. A safety dominate the game. I can see Herschel Walker dominating the game, but I can't see a safety. And I was in the stand totally drenched watching this game. And that's when I realized, my God, this is, just what had happened there. So this will answer the question I asked you yesterday. So a week later, the Florida freshman team is going to play the Georgia freshman team. But that is played up in either Florida, at Gainesville, or in Athens. So we go to Athens to play the Georgia freshman team. And of course, the whole varsity is sitting there just taunting the hell out of us because we just got killed. And it is cold as can be. I mean, and for a Cuban kid, it's even colder than that. It is just, I'm freezing in this game. And of course, we have a great passing attack, but it's beginning to sleet. And by the second half, it's beginning to snow. In fact, I had never seen snow. And the snow's coming, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, what is this? I mean, it was the most surreal experience, and we grinded out a win. We grinded out a win,
Somebody's got
and it was just
Yeah.
superb.
It's like, say, somebody get me out of here. What is all this? Can you hang around for a few more minutes?
Sure.
We'll talk with Carlos Alvarez when we come back. We are live at the Westin Jekyll Island. Coming out and join us. The Florida Georgia Legend Series kicking off at 7 o'clock. Absolutely free to come and hear stories like that. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll come back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, getting ready for the Florida Georgia Legends Series. Ben Troop and Kevin Thomas here with you as those festivities will begin at 7 o'clock. And, Ben, we continue chatting with college football legend and Florida legend Carlos Alvarez. And I'll let Ben ask you about the football stuff. But you mentioned you grew up a baseball fan. We got the World Series. Of course, we were in Braves country. How much do you follow the game in 2021?
I follow it some, but I don't follow it the way I should. I mean, I know the Astros and the Braves are playing. I don't know exactly who to root for both of those teams, but I still watch it and really enjoy. I mean, really, they're great athletes, and I still enjoy the kind of the insides of the game.
Carlos, you were a pioneer in a lot of different ways. Obviously, definitely the first, Cuban-born Florida Gator. But then academics was a huge part of your life, but a bigger part of your life, and I think was really made you ahead of your time was activism. You were a guy that said, "Look, man, your father taught you just speak up for those who don't have a voice." Talk about the activism part of your life and how that's something that's really big with student athletes in 2021.
Mm-hmm. Well, I played in an era that you had to be active. There were so many things happening in that era, which is, the late 60s, early 70s. So you have the Vietnam War, you have the civil rights movement, both of those being really the major cultural things that are happening, and a lot of discord in America around it. And, once you start delving into those issues, it's something that my dad taught me early on, that you need to be involved. And I'm not saying that, I was going to change the world, but I was going to at least be involved in the issues. And to some extent, a little bit of the issues, and to some extent, more than a little bit, it involved athletics in the sense of African Americans were still not in the SEC. They were in other schools, but not in the SEC, and that was beginning to change. So when I came to Florida, there were no African Americans in the team. Which the '69 team, which was my first year, was the last white team at the University of Florida. The next year, but that year we had two, Leonard George and Willie Jackson, who were the first African Americans to play at University of Florida. And then when I was a junior, they were sophomores and they played with us. In fact, Willie Jackson threw the block that helped me score the touchdown to beat Georgia in 1970. It's a great picture as Willie's coming around and blocking the last defensive back between me and the goal line. So those are the kind of memories I have, but I felt I needed to be involved in those issues. And so I did. So I spoke out at rallies at the University of Florida against the war. I got criticized by the university president, saying that I was there to try to, get publicity. Now, and I have a letter from the university president that I still have where he threatened me about what I was doing. And I saved the letter because I was so upset about the letter. And he was saying I was trying to get publicity. Well, I had just become a consensus All-American as a sophomore. The first time since in 25, 30 years that anybody had become a consensus All-American. Why in the world would I need publicity? And really I wanted to kind of fade away, but I also, spoke at these rallies, and I was involved with the African American students about getting more African Americans to be at University of Florida. It was in 1954 that the Supreme Court issued the Brown versus Board of Education that said separate but equal is not right, and so you got to segregate. University of Florida, 15 years later, has 120 African American students out of a student population of 20,000. Is that fair or unfair? They have this Cuban guy who's running around catching passes, who's not an American citizen, but no African Americans. And the Cuban guy is watching African Americans die in Vietnam. Is that fair? And oh gosh, maybe we didn't have the African American athletes back then. Well, if you go and check FAMU, Florida A&M, they had a guy by the name of Bob Hayes who coined the name the world's fastest Cuban. He was the Olympic 100-meter champion. And I've talked to people at FAMU, because they also had Gilmore, who was also played for the Chicago Bears, but they had a backfield that with pads. Bob Hayes was not the fastest guy. Just shows you the unbelievable backfield they had, and the kind of African American athletes that were being denied their choice of where to go. So anyway, there was a lot of stuff there. I did get involved. I got a lot of critique about it, but I also got a lot of praise, over the years and stuff. And all said and done is really what my father taught me. He would not allow an injustice to happen without at least becoming involved. And the only thing I can say is at the end of the day, this comes from a movie called Schindler's List. And I don't know if you all know about that movie or what happened there, but it was about a guy who was German who helped a lot of Jews get saved from the Holocaust by putting them into a factory and taking a lot of risk. And at the end, he was asked, you did all this thing. How do you feel? And he says, I could have done more. And that's the way I feel. And it's okay. I mean, I'm not sad about it, but I feel that I could have done more. And, but I'm glad I did what I did.
And Carlos, when you think about the fact that too, like you talk about like the Alvarez legacy in America. Your father taught you about people. He taught you how to love and being a voice for people. But you also had a love for athletics and academics. Your brothers, y'all went on to be lawyers. You told me and BJ yesterday, yeah, I just went to Duke Law School. And we was like, yeah. I was supposed to go to Georgia Tech to be an engineer. I don't know, but what I'm saying is you still have a love for people, even to this day. Like there are certain things that doesn't go away. You talk about what you were, no, what you are. How does one maintain that enthusiasm to understand that, look, man, I've been given a lot, and I understand too much is given, much is required?
Ben, I don't know. I am full of gratitude, and I know you are too. And it's not something I have thought about. It just comes within you. All of a sudden, you're full of gratitude. I mean, and I think it's when you see how fragile life is, that the gifts that have been given to you, and you've worked for some of them have been there. Like I mentioned the coach Rudy Freitas, a boys club coach that took me under his wing. How the heck do you anticipate something like that? And how, when you're older, can you not appreciate that was a gift to you, and all the people that help you, and that gratitude? And I think when you have that, you want to pay it back. You want to, and I noticed this with your book, how you want to pay it back, even though, you come from a place that, almost all of it, I mean, you've earned it yourself, but you still know that there's some people that were there at crucial times, and you want to be that person for people now. And that's kind of the way I feel. I really want to help people. And in fact, that's really what I do now in my law, which is really, I used to litigate all the time, but now really I try to bring people together. I call it collaborative. I don't call it this. This is a term for it. Collaborative justice, which is really bringing people together. And it's something that I see in the, to the bigger issue of the United States and the kind of divisiveness that we have now. That we need to come together. We need to come together, and there's ways to do that, but we need to start. We need to start, and I tell people that we need to start this right away. Like when kids are in kindergarten, we need to teach them how to communicate with each other in a ways to resolve conflict resolution, kind of discussions. And so that's what I'm into now, passing it forward to because of all the gifts that I've been given, and we'll see how it ends.
Carlos Alvarez, our guest here on 3 and Out. I could talk for another 2.5 hours. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time. He will be there with Ben and guests here on the Florida Georgia Legends Series, the roundtable discussion. The great Carlos Alvarez joining us here on 3 and Out. Carlos, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll come back with
Thank you for
more.
having me.
We'll come back with more 3 and Out live from the Westin on Jekyll Island, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. picks. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop has stepped aside for a moment. We got BJ Bennett, who we've managed to, pull on the show. Welcome to 3 and Out.
You guys have been working.
Yeah, I understand. There's a lot that goes into the Florida Georgia Legends series, but again, just hearing all the stories and hearing all the guys, really looking forward to what's to come here this evening, and not just talking about this game in particular, but just football stories in general is always fun when you get a group of guys. And I was just telling Carlos during the break, it's through the two that we've been able to do in person. We did one, virtually, but you see the athletes are, as much as they want to talk football, it's like, we talked earlier, Will McClendon was like, I came to meet Carlos Alvarez. And we saw that in the year one. They're like, heck, man, I came to talk to that guy. I came to talk to that, just to meet some of the guys that you might not otherwise cross paths with, that you've heard about through stories, through games and things like that.
It's the power of perspective. And I really think if, people are driving around or listening at home and think, hey, should I? Yes, it's worth it. Come out and meet these incredible people and listen to their stories, not only about football, but about life. And I think one of the really neat things about interviews, right, is you learn about the person behind the face mask. And this rivalry has so many incredible moments, so many incredible memories for so many people. But when you meet the person behind that moment, it's really empowering. It's really inspiring to Kevin, think about what these student athletes have done, what they've now gone on to do as men, and just really looking forward to this. And Ben, of course, has done a remarkable job bringing this all together.
And the beauty of sports in general, BJ, is who writes their moment tomorrow. Who writes their moment in this series tomorrow? That's we've talked about this all week with the World Series. With now George Floyd's like, there's a chance for somebody to write their story. There's a chance for somebody to write. It could be Jordan Davis. It could be Stetson Bennett. Who knows who it's going to be to have their moment in this game? I mean, every Atlanta Braves fan knows Francisco Cabrera. You look at the totality of the Francisco Cabrera career, and you're going, he was an okay to middling ball player, but has maybe one of the biggest moments in Atlanta Braves history, to his credit as well. Nobody saw that coming.
Of course. And you think about games like the World Series, you think about games like Florida, Georgia. These are living legacies, and looking forward to tonight. Looking forward to tomorrow, this weekend. But who's gonna be the star tomorrow afternoon in Jacksonville? I mean, you think about a guy like Stetson Bennett, superstar quarterback, Pierce County High School, Blackshear, Georgia. Takes a non-traditional route to the University of Georgia and the starting job. And look at the couple of weeks he's had. Right now, he's second in the nation in passer rating behind Grayson McCall, second in the nation, and has the number one passer rating against ranked teams of any quarterback in college football. What do we see from him tomorrow? The quarterbacks at Florida. Is it Anthony Richardson? Is it Emory Jones? What do these guys do with the opportunities they're given? And Kevin, that's what makes all of this so compelling, man.
It certainly is. And again, looking forward to it. The Florida Georgia Legends Series coming up here at the Westin on Jekyll Island. Right here, we're getting set up, ready to go. All the festivities starting at 7 o'clock. Hope you'll come out. It's absolutely free. We have some folks walking around just enjoying the island. No, just pull up a chair and listen and have the tremendous experience of listening to these guys share their stories. We'll come back. We will have a pick on this game.
Oh, boy.
On Georgia, Florida. We'll put that down on paper.
Ben wanted me to tell you, because I think he was taking Georgia 45-10.
Yes, he was taking – I told him he could pick Florida with the points, and you're still kind of sort of picking Florida. But we'll come back. We'll do that next. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island.
The guy standing right behind you is Florida's all-time leading receiver. That is Carlos Alvarez. The big guy standing behind him is Ben Troop. He played tight end for Florida.
Welcome back to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, coming to you live from the Westin on Jekyll Island, getting ready for the Florida Georgia Legends Series. Willie McClendon, DJ Jones, representing the Dogs. Of course, Ben hosting it here with Carlos Alvarez, Jeff Chandler, D. Webb, talking about the game, sharing stories about Georgia and Florida and all that entails. Absolutely free to come out and attend and join on all the fun. Talk to the guys after it's over and, meet some of these guys and talk about their experiences. Again, a whole lot of fun. Encourage you to come out and take part, all starting at 7 o'clock here in the courtyard at the Westin.
Yes, and completely free. Come visit, get a picture, get an autograph, listen to these incredible stories, meet these incredible people. And Ben's done a wonderful job with this. A lot of legwork, of course, reaching out to folks and organizing things, and does it all in stride. And just really excited for tonight, really excited for all the content we're going to have here. We'll have it, on various social media channels, ESPNcoastal.com, all this weekend. So this is special. This is something we're really proud of, really excited about, really grateful for all that Ben has done, and for these guys for coming down. And then after that, we have a World Series game, by the way. I just wanted to share that.
I almost forgot about that. No, I did not. But, the Braves game 3, maybe. Apparently the weather pretty bad up there in Atlanta. We'll see if they get that in or have to move it back to, I think it will go to Monday night if they have to reschedule that. But we will get to the picks here. Ben is out, so we will pick for him.
Sure.
I think he did say you wanted to go. He said go Dogs. I think
he said 45-10.
Is what he said. But your pick, BJ, on this game.
I do think you're going to see Florida come out and play with a spirited effort. Their season 3 losses has not gone the way they wanted it to go. This is a chance at redemption. This is a chance at changing the narrative. And I think they're going to give Georgia everything they have. I think you'll see Florida move the football some with some offensive unpredictability. I don't think they'll get in the end zone. I think Georgia keeps Florida at arm's length, Kevin, but I think the Gators will cover, I think, a little bit closer than maybe some others do. The Southern Pigskin preview I wrote, went with Georgia 30, Florida 19, kind of a weird field goal-ish type game for the Gators. I think Georgia wins comfortably, but I think Florida plays better than most people are anticipating. 30-19 Dogs.
No, they did play well against Alabama. I look at the way this Georgia team is playing, and again, I'm going to have to see it to believe it. I'm not saying Florida won't play well, but give me Georgia and the points. I'll lay the points and pick the Dogs to win this one.
You got to give us a score, Kevin.
I'll say 35-10.
Okay,
that would get me in that window. So look, I'm not saying Florida can't do it, but I just don't see it. Georgia's playing really, really well. Top flight defense. How are you going to score? And again, everybody we've talked to said if Florida's going to win, they got to play defense. They got to keep it in check. Okay, it's one thing to do that, but how are you going to score? You do have to put points on the board in order to get it done. So I'm going to go with Georgia, lay the points, and I think they win tomorrow down in Jacksonville. Florida Georgia Legends Series coming up here at 7 o'clock at the Westin on Jekyll Island. Come on out and join in on all the fun, absolutely free, and hear some great stories from some of the legends of this tremendous game between the Dogs and the Gators. And we will see you wrap it all up on Monday, get you caught up on the very latest with the World Series on Monday right here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.